contingency goes, we're still in really good shape, sitting about $160,000 left in that bucket, so we're in good shape for where we're at in this project. A couple of other things coming up, but yeah.
And the shelving system for the clerk's office and the floor capacity to hold that.
RQAW has been looking at that. They do have concerns on the structure being able to support that heavy of a system. It's pretty extravagant. Still waiting on RQAW to come back on what needs to happen there as far as reinforcing that system, whether or not adding a column and a beam underneath to carry that, or if we need to go back to a standard shelving system.
Okay. We need to make that decision, because I mean, that system's either getting ready to be ordered, has been ordered, is ordered.
I'll put some pressure on RQAW and find out where we're at there, and then go from there.
All right, it's great. So you'll have me something by Friday? Awesome. You're the best.
I'll have a chat with Blair, and we'll get an answer.
You're the best. All right, Derek, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Derek. Thanks.
All right, next up, we've got the meeting minutes from the January 28th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Okay, motion made by TC. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Okay, next up, go to the Highway Department. Morning, Chris.
Morning.
How are you?
All right, I guess. As long as it
That's
don't
not-
snow any worse.
It's not a good way to start. You're great.
I guess the first step is the bids. I went over the bids, the 3 bids that we received for the CCMG project, the 2024-2, and I would recommend that you guys award the bid to EMB Paving for $1,492,000, $650, and I think 1 cent was that project. I went through it and I didn't see any discrepancies with them. That would have been the low bid of the 3 that we received.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners?
I don't believe so.
Grant?
Just so, I know you guys are new, when we do bids, we have an obligation to award to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. And that just means that they are responsive to the packet that was set out. They hit all the statutory guidelines, and they're the low number amongst those, so.
Yeah, sometimes the low bidder may not meet all the other requirements. Even though they're the low bidder, we can't award it to them if they can't do the job. So these are the low bidder, and he meets checks all the other boxes.
Yeah. There's no other questions. I'd entertain a motion to approve E and B.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, and on that project, just talking to him, their planned paving was to start in May of this year, but we will probably push that back because of another project we have, the bridge on Old 50. And back to the 2024, I guess. So that was the total bid. Out of that total bid, the CCMG is gonna pay $1,119,000 and some change. We'll pay the county will be responsible for $373,000 of that project. That was the Old 50, the 100 West, and the 500 North. The bridge project that we've got on Old 50, it's scheduled to start May 15th. It will have a 82-day closure. And the closure will probably start on June 10th, and I think August 29th will be the final date when it's supposed to be open. So I was talking to EMB yesterday and to the bridge people, the CLR got the bridge, about kind of coordinating them projects. Because part of the bridge project is to be overlaid. So we would maybe try to plan our paving on Old 50 at the same time the paving over the bridge has to be done. But there will be a detour. I talked to NDOT and they're gonna put some signage out on the bypass too. Cause it'll be an 82-day closure.
As far as school traffic and so forth, is there a road, I don't know if that's 150?
150 west, yeah.
That's so
That'd be part of the local.
Anyone who's west of the bridge will be able to go that.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to, can't think what his name is now, the transportation director there in Washington. And, I'll talk to him and
Okay,
see what they've got on that side and talk to him about the closures and,
okay.
That should only be a couple weeks because of school,
Mhm.
right, school's out during summer, so that should only be really a couple weeks.
yeah, so that'd be good too. I didn't even think about that. But we'll talk to him, make sure it's no surprises for him. In that project, I think the total was a little over $1 million. The construction part of it was $813,000, and our match is $162,000 out of that. There will be some construction inspection. I think we'll have like $31,500 in it. And we had $25,000 in the engineering, so it actually is a good project for us. Another CCMG grant that I just applied for and put in, I don't know if I give everybody 100% of the details on it, but it was also Edwardsport Road, which is 100 West, a continuation of that from this year's CCMG, 300 West, which is the road that would connect the old 50 that we're getting ready to do to the bypass, 150 North, Sugarland Road, 75 East, 200 North, and 100 South, and 11th Street. So all of these projects on the map, you can see them where they butt up to previous projects and previous infrastructure. I know you guys had done a lot out at the airport with the expansion out of the airport. So we've been looking into some of the roadways that go out to the airport and make sure them are upgraded. I feel like if a county, we're gonna invest in the infrastructure out at the airport or bring bigger jets and stuff like that in, then we need to make sure that we got a good roadway leading to and from the airport, kind of invest back in that infrastructure. So that was on there. That is a estimated total construction cost that I did was I'll round up, $1.5 million. And that would be, the match would be $373,000 on that one also. That will be awarded in March. So we'll know in March. We did receive the $7,000 worth of stone from the solid waste district that we traded our truck for. It's on the lot. They got it to us. And I don't know if I told you on the Kennelberg Road, the failures that happened. Milestone Contractors, which had did the Kennelberg Road for us, they came back and repaired it, and Lockmuller Firm, which was the engineering firm on that project, they paid for all the concrete, and the county highway dug the bad concrete out and hauled it off. So them failures are complete and fixed. The last thing I have is the DocuSign. So it's to name me, I guess. Chris Winkler is Daviess County Highway Supervisor, legal binding authority to sign agreements with NDOT on behalf of the LPA, which is you guys. So what we run into is when we're doing these agreements, I'm not applying for anything that hasn't been said in here and then you guys haven't already agreed to, for me to proceed with. But during the process, they send you a lot of DocuSign informations that you got to sign this and sign that. And it could route through everybody, and it gets to be a process. And when they send it to one of you guys first, I don't know never where they send it. And typically the commissioners would call me and like, what's this? Am I supposed to sign this? And then it goes to the next one and to the next one. And if somebody doesn't sign it or it starts over again, and you've only got so many days to sign these. So in the past, we have always let the highway guy sign it as long as it's something that you guys have agreed to. It's just, I don't know, trying to explain it a little bit, but that would be up to you guys if you want to do that. I got to do it every year. I got to do it at a meeting every year to be able to be the legal signer.
Sure, I mean, I definitely would entertain a motion to make, Chris the authorized signer of the LPA DocuSign
So
vouchers.
moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Keith. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Will you, when needed, you'll bring them to the meeting and just make sure that it's properly presented? I mean, this is just a practical step, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I think everything, like I said, everything's agreed to. I'm just acknowledging it afterwards, that kind of change orders and stuff that happen. They'll send me a paper and then I gotta sign something to tell them that I got the paper. The last thing, I guess, the load limits, we're gonna go over that and see if they need to be taken off. We implemented them. I talked to Commissioner Gabhart, and I think you guys did this years ago. They implemented a freeze thaw calculator. It was done by a study out of New York through NDOT. That you do some calculations on the highest temperatures, the lowest temperatures, the averages, and then you know when you're supposed to put the freeze thaw on. We had to adjust the numbers a little bit to relate to Daviess County, but we did put that into effect, and we're using that. So right now, it technically tells me today that I need to take the load limit off, but with the looking forward to the weather coming up this week and next week, it's gonna freeze again, so I'm gonna go back and meet and go over that data, and then just my practical experience of being out on the road. I don't wanna take the load limit off for 2 days and then have to turn around and put it back on.
Yeah.
And we had a couple roads fall through. We hauled a lot of rock out. We closed a couple roads due to them falling through. And we haven't put the load limit on for 3 years, so I don't think that we're being unhandy with it or whatever.
No, the thaw index that you're using is really good. And, you know, I've been a commissioner now for 11 years, and we've used the load limit 4 or 5 times. And obviously, you know, it's, you know, there's all kinds of analogies to use. I mean, our people just had that sixth sense on when to put it in place and when to not put it in place. So a number of years ago, we just did a little bit of digging, and, you know, there's civil engineer firms all over the country, and there's formulas on when to put these in place based off the temperature, and that tells you what the subsurface temperature is. So my whole thing was, look, we're just kind of winging it a little bit based off what other counties are doing, and we put it in on Wednesday, but it should have been last Tuesday, or should have been next Monday. Let's just have some sort of system, so to speak. So Chris has done a great job where you just monitor the temperatures, and there's a delta, and then once it's over a certain number, you put it in, and once it's off, you take it off. But then you figure out what else you need to do. And so I just wanted to call it a thermometer, right? I mean, our kids are running a temp, so do we keep them home from school or not? So the temperature itself doesn't dictate the next move necessarily, but at least tells you when you need to start acting.
He showed us that calculator this morning, and it gives him something. If he gets a phone call,
Yeah.
he's got something, well, this is telling me why, so.
And you don't necessarily take it off on the day it tells you to take it off. You don't necessarily put it in. You may put it in earlier, you may put it in later, but you'll have reasons why. So I just think it's a good metric. Not the only metric, but it's a good metric to follow.
Well, we had, you know, we put a little advanced warning out, and before we put the advanced warning out, then we had people cramming to get stuff in, and that kind of ruined some roads. So I don't know if the advanced warning was a good thing or not. And then the day you take it off, you don't want everybody cramming their loads out. But as far as, I know with like JJ's Concrete, Jones and Sons, IMI, Hoosier Ready Mix, as far as them concrete companies that we've dealt with, they've all been great to deal with. They've all called us, they've all communicated with us. We've had no issues with them, and we've worked with them to get them to jobs that had to be poured and stuff at different times, and routed them on roads that we know were low rated that they could go on, and kept them away from like new chip seal roads and stuff. So we have worked with them, and they've done a really good job. Out of state, over the road truck drivers, that's been a whole nother story. So we'll let Steve take care of them. But yeah, it's been pretty good for the county for what we've done, and I think we're not trying to hinder anybody or anything. We're just trying to be good stewards of our infrastructure and maintain it. That's all I've got today.
Perfect.
Great. Anything for Chris?
I believe so. Thanks, Chris.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, we got Daniel Scheer. I don't see
Might move him
See
down.
Daniel, we'll go ahead and move on, and if he shows up, we'll move him around. Favorite time of the year, insurance renewals. Paul, how are you? Been working hard? Oh, you're great. Oh, and this can be an easy, it should be a slam dunk meeting here.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Maybe not get ahead and like, just follow along.
That's, get me excited.
I want you to ask. You guys can ask it.
All right, we'll start out with the good news, and the first part is workman's comp. And if you flip the first page. So I went back in history a little bit, and for several years, we were with a company called IPEP. They're a good company, but we had a little problem and with them not accepting DCH as part of their network. Nathan, I think you remember when we ran into a situation of them wanting to send somebody elsewhere. So, but, you know, they were the competition at the time, and so we stuck with them. A company called West Bend has decided to get into it. So last year, there's two good reasons. One, IPEP was going to take the premium from 181 to 212, and West Bend was able to come in at 201. So, plus, they count Daviess County Hospital as part of our network. I spoke to Tracy yesterday, and he said he also had dealt with West Bend in his past life, and said they're a good company to work with. And so they offered a renewal, and as you can see this year, the premium is actually less. So we've taken it from 201 down to 195. So we've got a reduction in your work comp premium. You might notice the mod went from 1.44 to 1.40. Your mod helps. That's a 3-year average of losses. And so that helps as well. We're still at 1.4 and we're working to get that. You start off at 1. You can get to 0.8 and you get a discount. You go to 1.4, you're actually paying a little more than what you should based upon the standards. On the back pages, and you could, that's just, I gave that to you to show you how the mod's calculated. We don't really need to go through that, but we'll look at that at your convenience. Any questions on the workman's comp?
I mean, do you feel we're doing all we can to decrease that mod rate as a county?
Say yes, but we can always improve.
Okay.
And West Bend does have a loss control representative that does come around, and he'll talk to the sheriff's department, the highway department, wherever Chris is at, and different departments, and just review the losses. So, which reminds me, commissioners, there is a packet in your, I don't know, we call it the bin, that lists the losses. I couldn't present them today because they do include names. So you can see what has transpired. We look at that, my loss control looks at that, and we do try and.
That's not the document you sent ahead of time, or is
No.
it?
No, these losses actually list names, and that's why I couldn't present them today, but I did put them in the commissioner's offices.
Well, I mean, 200,000 on a $40+ million budget, and it's percentage-wise isn't a whole lot. Some of this stuff's non-preventable.
Right. No,
But-
there's,
I just wanted, but right now, the way we have it set up, commissioners, is there's no, and I apologize for my terminology, but there's no accountability to any of our department heads if they have a high workers' comp or a low workers' comp. You know, someone else pays for it. So something, not to get too meticulous, but something we may want to consider down the road is if we start doing a cost share per department head based off use, where maybe sheriff pays 30% of the work this, and Chris pays 40%, and everyone else pays the other 30%. I don't know. I mean, again, it's not, we're talking right side of the decimal point as far as percentage-wise, but.
what's really odd is it's almost a third, and a third. You know, the highway department has a third of losses, sheriff's, and then there's actually a third in the clerical. One of our worst claims was somebody walking down the steps.
Yeah, but as far as FTEs go, it's, probably 10%, 10%, 80% as far as our total belly buttons on our plan.
Right.
So, and again, I don't want to get too granular, but I would just encourage any department head to look at the claims and figure out if there's one that's preventable and what can we do going forward. And there may be none that's preventable, so.
And stating from my experience in our last workman's comp provider that we had, since we've switched to West Bend, they have shown up, and I've actually met with them, with their rep a few times, and I think some of it is the lack of understanding from our departments. And now that they are being more involved, he is trying to be here quarterly and meet with different departments and scheduling that. So we
Great.
just met with the highway department. So I feel like the more they understand and know, that this will help
Making
as well.
progress, yeah. No, it's good. It's just want to make sure everyone knows where the dollars are going, so, all right, great.
Never been out to you? Okay. Yeah.
All right, great. But the price went down, the mod rate's a 3-year average, so next year's mod rate will increase, so, but the good thing about the workers' comp, it stays fairly
Consistent.
consistent,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
All right, we'll take these one at a time.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the motion would be to approve West Bend as our workers' comp provider.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Keith, do we have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Cook, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0.
The next sheet in there is this National Union for Reserve Officers. And so a couple of years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, now that if you have reserve officers, you have to provide them with some sort of coverage because they are not covered under workman's comp because they're not part of payroll. And so this is what we've had in the last few years. It's very nominal. It's $908 total a year for all 7 volunteers. It provides life insurance and medical insurance. And Steve, I think we got this updated. Kevin, we're showing as reserve officers. Price per reserve officer is about $140 per person per year.
All right, great. Commissioners, any questions?
No, that was good.
Okay, Steve says it's correct, so I'd like a motion to accept the National Union
Okay.
for Police Reserves.
Entertain a motion to accept the Acrisure National Union Insurance for the reserves.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Cook, do we have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Keith, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0.
The next paper pertains to the package, not including property. And so if you open it up, going back in history again, I'd like to show you a little bit of the history on what we've done. We were with HCC for a number of years. HCC actually got out of the providing insurance for government entities, so then we switched to AmGuard, which really worked out good anyway because HCC was raising the rates, so we went from $233,000 to $201 with AmGuard. Then the AmGuard gave us a decent renewal, and we were at $212 the next year. However, if you look at the next page, you're going to see that if I can get to it shows the losses. AmGuard had a tough year in 22 and 23. You can see that they actually paid out $762,000 in claims. So they raised the rate, which, you know, you kind of would expect, but they went from 212 to 291. The other bad thing that AmGuard did, and I won't get into the details like I did last year, but they also raised deductibles on us. So like the law deductible went from 10 grand to 50 grand. The autos, they took some of the comp and collision from 1,000 to 5,000. And so with all the different changes, we went out and searched the market again and came up with GIE. A GIE came in at 229, plus the lower deductibles, 10 grand on the law, 10 grand on $0 or $1,000 deductible on comp and collision. And so not only was the price better, our deductibles were better. And at that point, you know, Nathan and Grant, we had a conversation about moving to a different company. It's always moving to different companies. And so we did switch last year to GIE at 229, lower deductibles. Then this year, they did raise it. But in all honesty, you got a really good price last year because go back to the losses again. In that year of the 762, and they were quoting, that 762 wasn't showing up. And so they based their premium on a 3-year average of this 177, 12, and so gave us a good rate. When the renewal came this year, and part of the renewals are based upon an average of several years, they had to calculate that 762 in their equation.
So next year, when that falls out, our premium will go down?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. That was easy. Yeah.
So,
Start calculating in 5 years.
but again, and I know we're talking, you know, 250,000, but if you look at the next pages, and I'm not gonna read all this to you, but you can see this package includes, well, and then I put in here what the rate increase, and most of it was in the auto, because that's where the majority of our loss was that year, was in the auto, and that's where your big increase came from. But I mean, this package does include, you know, liability, E&O, law, EPLI, employees benefits, and so it is a complete package covering liability in the county as a whole. Any questions on?
Any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Whenever that gets ready to fall off, let's push that hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no other questions, the motion would be to go with GIE for 2025 property and casualty.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Keith, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook, all in favor, say aye. Motion passes 3-0.
There's one sheet in there right after that, and the only reason I put that sheet in there was to show you that GIE does not necessarily pay out, and if you look down through there, you'll see a lot of claims that were submitted to GIE, and they did not pay anything. You'll see closed at no cost, closed at no cost. So, you know, we want you to report all the claims. That doesn't mean we're gonna pay it. So, we've had that discussion, Nathan.
Does simply reporting a claim impact our
No,
cost?
no, it's only if it's paid.
So, but if we had 30 claims at the same dollar amount, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna at all impact it.
Correct. Workman's comp's a little different, so don't get confused there. Does by number of claims, not only the value of the claims. On this negotiations through liability, it's how much is paid, not the number reported. So back to Steve and Chris, please report any potential claims, even if you don't think it's gonna come to fruition, and in that way, we can send it to the company and let them deny. You know, let them tell. I know there's been some rock claims, people saying our windshield got busted. They've said, no, that's not part of what we hear, and denied the claim. But let us do that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Cyber.
Yeah.
Dale over there, it's up to him. Now look at cyber, because and if you look at 23, go to the right, come back. Again, I like to show a history. We were at 21, 24 went to 22, and actually I got a quote for 18 from Coalition. Go down to, they originally started out at 22, and I put that in there down, like 3 down. If you look down to 18, 24, 22. They were originally at 22, but I showed them quotes of down there at CFC at 16. So they came down in premium. They wanted to keep the business with the county. They haven't had any losses, and so I got them to go to from 22.6 to 18.6. See the comparisons there where I'm at? Okay. There is a $2 million in there for 24. The county's cyber is, I mean, the losses, I always have to hate recommending more than what you may or may not need, but I think $1 million is a good limit. Other places have more limits, but they have to worry about loss of revenue. And I don't think the county has to worry about loss of revenue so much as some other businesses. If they get shut down and can't operate, then you've got loss of revenue. But part of the situation that we need to make you aware of is if you go way to the very, very back, very last page, there was a contingency about this coalition, and they had us last year, and I don't know why they're all of a sudden, they asked Dale to call him, and Dale's got a meeting, right? Dale's got a meeting Friday with Coalition, and to go over this, I don't even understand it, VPN panel exposure. You think it's gonna be a big deal? Okay, so then it's just a. Okay. Right. But don't anticipate any problems, and Dale has reached out to Coalition to go over that and get that resolved, and then our votes can be bound, and he's gonna do that Friday, so. Any discussion about 1 million or 2 million?
No, I'd prefer to stay at 1 million.
Okay.
Commissioners, what do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
That's fine. Dale, you have any input on? One's good enough, yeah.
Coalition is a good company. Unfortunately, we've had the opportunity to see them in work, not here, but at other locations, and they did a very fantastic job of going in and resolving the situation that came about. Might be cheapers out there. Again, the CFC is at 16, but they were reactive versus proactive. And I think Dale knows Coalition has sometimes sends out, tries to get in and see what you can find. And so I would recommend we stay with Coalition at the revised quote, 1830. So can I mention again how we were able to negotiate that from 22 to 18? Just
Yeah, well, and historically, good partners come in with their best rate. So perhaps next year they can come in with their best rate, so we don't have to ask.
I know, but
That'd be great, but thank you
know.
for asking and getting that down. So yeah, 18 is definitely much better than 22.
and
So
that's lower than back in 23. So
yeah, appreciate you working with them on that. Yeah, seriously.
thank you.
Commissioners, any questions on the cyber renewal?
No.
If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the coalition provider for 2025.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor? Aye. The motion passes.
We're almost there.
Okay, Keith, we're good.
Okay. And I'm going to end with some really good news. Not necessarily this next page, because it's not really the good news part, but I am going to end with good news. Okay, so we have another section called property. And this has been very, very frustrating in the fact that last year we had a good property quote with Chubb. And this year, Chubb made a lot of changes on their renewal. And I know you guys, I had stacks of papers, and I condensed this down to one page and just hidden the highlights, because there's a lot of good property coverages in there. So Chubb increased the premium, go from right to left, from 98 to 105. No, not real bad, but we also increased our limits from 66 million to 68 million. I'm leaving out Cincinnati for now. And inland marine went up a little bit, but here's the parts I didn't like is that their deductible went from 10,000 to 25,000. They put in a 25,000 wind hail last year to a 1% wind hail deductible with a 50,000 minimum. Now, what that means is, like the courthouse is insured for 23 million, so that gives you a $230,000 deductible. Okay. However, Chubb does provide 5 million in earthquake and 5 million in flood. But I went out to Cincinnati, and I went out to several other companies as well, but the company that was most competitive was Cincinnati. They were just a little bit more, but their deductible was 10,000. You got 10,000 deductible versus the 25 or a 50,000 on Chubb. But Cincinnati does not offer flood and earthquake. You go out and buy flood and earthquake, it's going to cost us about $50,000. So, now Cincinnati tells me, I hate it when they do this, hey, next year we're going to be offering flood and earthquake. I'm like, what about this year? You know, that's when I need you. You're at 10,000, offer me flood and earthquake, and, you know, I've got a good proposal for you. Well, we're not ready yet. I've gone back to Chubb, and here's the other aggravating part about this is I did not get Chubb's quote until Saturday. I'm talking about 3 days ago, 2 days ago. Saturday. So I've gone back to them yesterday to see if there's anything they could do. They said they're at their best pricing, and they would not, you can buy down. See this 1% wind hail, you can buy, I've got a different company that you can buy it back down to a $25,000 level. But we have to add about 12 to 15,000. So instead of 105 plus 15, what's that, 120? If you want to buy down the deductible. I can get that 1%, 50,000 down to a 25,000 for an extra, I'm just gonna say 15,000.
Still 1%.
No,
Oh, just straight.
straight out. It is actually a separate endorsement from another company that's willing to, you pay me 15, I'll buy down the deductible. So,
Okay.
my opinion,
Is there any claims?
you've got it there, but I'll tell you now, in 3 years,
We have it where?
in your sheets that I've left at your,
Oh,
not in here.
Oh, okay.
Because again, the claims show liability and who was on it and all that.
So these are, but this is just property though, this isn't workers' comp.
But I left that in your envelope as well. I put the liability claim in there as well.
Okay.
Property claims, I knew you were gonna ask me that. We've only had 2 property claims in the last 3 years, and they're lightning claims that hit. We haven't had any wind hail claims, we haven't had any, not that that can't happen, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying any things cannot happen. But the historical says, we have not had in the property section, it's been lightning claims is about all we've hit.
Well, that's why I'm wondering, I mean, should we ask him what a $50,000 or $75,000 deductible cost? Because it doesn't seem we have very many claims hit this plan.
They would be happy to move to a 50 overall, so, you're at 25 versus, other than the wind hail,
I mean, it all depends what the premium buy down is, and then,
right?
that 1% is tough. Something happens, you're out to 200 and some, depending on the building, right?
230,000 on,
Yeah.
it's 1%, so,
well, that's if it's a $20 million structure, but we don't have any of those.
any what?
Courthouse.
What, just doing the math, I mean, 1%, I mean, we don't have any, for a $200,000 claim, you'd have to have a $20 million.
3 million.
You do have, you got.
Not in
23
one,
23 million at the courthouse and 20 million at the government, over here at Steve's place.
okay. If it was completely,
Steve.
if it's,
Well, not just your place, but.
okay, I don't want to belabor the point. We want to see what if, we want to, I guess it's really have one option, one and a half option. See what the higher premiums is, the higher deductible, see what the premium impact is, or approve what he's,
I don't think it'd hurt to see the higher premium.
Higher deductible.
Higher deductible, yeah.
I
sorry.
said it wrong, sorry.
How high do you want to go, 75?
I'd say just show, have them show us 50, 75, and 100, just for kicks. It's not gonna take him any more time. And then we can see what the premium is and determine if it's worth the risk.
Yeah.
And then have that for the next meeting, and it's like a 3-minute thing. They can just plug it in.
I may not be in town.
Tell them Cincinnati can have it to us by Friday. But Chubb,
Chubb, okay.
yeah, we wanna see what the other premiums are if we could. The other
And I'll
deductibles,
also,
the other deductibles.
I know what you meant. And I'll also get you the exact price for the buy down, but you're kind of like, if you're willing to go those kind of deductibles, but you still might want the buy down at 75,000, maybe only be 10 grand. To get away from those $100,000 potential wind hail,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep. Okay, so we'll just table this one till the next meeting, and, yeah, just send it to us electronically, and, we'll see what we think, and, yeah, we'll be able to hammer that out before the next meeting.
Okay.
Worst case, we've got this as a safety net. so.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And hopefully, Cincinnati will come out with wind hail deductible program, and then we've got a little more competition in that
Competition.
network. A lot of people don't offer wind hail deductibles in their programs. I got other companies I showed you in there that I can go to and have gone to, and those are my 2 best options.
Okay,
Okay, ready for the good news?
yes.
Besides, I'm leaving, that's the other. I got this from Tom Graham, And the levy just received a 5-year, they do this every 5 years now. They used to do it every 3. This is a full report on the levy. And the levy, and I know you guys chipped in some money to make it right. I think about 100,000, I believe, is what you guys helped do. But the levy has had the full inspection, and it is now classified as an active levy, which means if there is a claim on the levy, the Corps of Engineers will come in and fix it. Before, if you don't, not considered an active part of their program, then you have to fix it yourself. And there was a year where the county had a big expense in fixing the levy because it was not Corps of Engineer approved.
Yeah.
So this is an official letter showing the levy is Corps of Engineer approved.
No, it's been a lot of work from a lot of volunteers who serve on that levy
Yes.
board who, don't get paid to serve on that board. They put in, was totally driven by them, so,
Well,
for them.
yeah, hats off to them, and then, so we should be good for the next 5 years.
Good, that's good news.
Grant, you have something?
Nothing on that. I mean, that's been a long-standing thing with the county. We do need a motion on tabling and asking him to evaluate increasing.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to table the property insurance until the next commissioners meeting.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Cook, do we have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was me, yeah.
Commissioner Keith, Commissioner Cook, seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Any questions on, that was a lot, but
No, but I just want to thank Paul. He sat down with me yesterday and kind of went through all this to kind of explain it a little bit more in depth, and appreciate that. Take your time.
I appreciate you coming in.
I did mention to Paul yesterday, just thinking about, not this year, but maybe following up next year or something, looking at taking some of this, like maybe even like the vehicle collision and stuff, taking some of that in-house on certain years and starting to self-insure some of those things. Start small on smaller things and kind of grow, similar to the health insurance stuff that we did. He said, obviously, it's doable, and my recommendation would be we look into it, but start small on things that we, smaller
I
claims.
think the conversation was on the comp and collision.
Correct.
Which, you know what a vehicle is. You can't do it on liability because you don't want to get messing with attorneys like Grant over there. But anyway, that's something you can control, what the deductible is, kind of what you're talking about on the property. Maybe instead of 1,000, go to 5,000 or
Right.
10,000. Just discussion for another day.
Right.
Okay.
No, sounds good, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, appreciate it.
All right, next up, we've got the Certified Tech Park amendment. We all received this from our Westgate board members. This is, this allows the Certified Tech Park to receive the enhanced funding that the statute that's already passed or the one that's going to be passed, I can't recall. But it allows them to receive additional funding. But all the 3 counties have to agree to this, and then it allows their certification to be approved. So I think everyone should have received a copy of this.
Yep.
Are there any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. All right, next up, I just want to put on the agenda the zoning repeal discussion. Over the past several years, we've been talking about zoning, and just now that we've had it for 10 years, government's good about putting things in place, and then if it's not causing apparent harm, we keep it in place, and as would be expected. And then government typically doesn't put anything in place that is extremely harmful, or else we wouldn't put it in place. So this is one of those situations where I wanted to have it on the agenda so that we can have a discussion just on the future of zoning, do a 10-year look back, so to speak, on what did we think it was going to do in 2014 when it came live and to today. So I'll stop there and open it up to the commissioners for any thoughts or suggestions on a go-forward plan.
My understanding is that zoning came about because of 69, is that correct? That's when the discussion started, really.
I mean, that was a major part of it, yeah.
Yeah. And then we had city annexed in a piece, right, of that. We still have, obviously, the county still has the piece up by, Lenore on that exit, right? So to me, as you look at what is the zoning ordinances or the zoning laws, they're pretty small and they've worked really hard to get them that way. We are paying a fee right now, to the city to administer some permits, right? Those permits are minimal as far as cost is concerned for the county. But I just don't see a reasoning for it when we have ordinances that can take care of everything that probably zoning has already taken care of, but they're already in place. So I feel like we're really losing money every year and not really gaining anything for it. So that's why I even have the idea to have ordinances. You look at other counties, obviously we're Davis County. We're gonna do what Davis County does, and as we should. But you definitely reach out and say, hey, what's going on? How's this working? And the counties that surround us have no issues with not having it, so.
That's what I've kind of always, been a believer. My property, I should get to do with it as I want. Nobody else tell me how to do it. But there's some other things like, who's gonna take care of, what department head's gonna be in charge of this, make sure that they're gonna be able to handle everything that we shift over to them. It's kind of the beginning of it. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's,
Good. No, I think it's right to discuss it, and theoretically, we should evaluate every ordinance we have in Daviess County periodically and go back down through them and eliminate the ones we no longer need or adapt them. So yeah, perhaps we do this. Let's set some framework. It's at 30,000 feet, building this out as we go here. So let's, and agree or disagree, I'm shooting from the hip. So we'll shoot for a 1/1/26 effective date of whatever decision we make and push back. If you guys want it, I can make it any date. Without an end point, this thing will never get done.
Right.
I'd say that's too long. I'd say we can get enough information by June or July.
June or July?
Yeah.
Mike, you good with June or July?
yeah.
'Cause, yeah, I'm okay with July, and then theoretically, we always push it to January if we need a do-over, so to speak, but, okay, July 1st. I would like to ensure that the APC and the BZA board, are involved. And perhaps just kind of start building out a pros, cons, draft of the pros and cons of keeping it, pros and cons of removing
Do
it.
we make a board or
Do we, say we use our existing board.
Yeah, okay.
The APC and BZA
Yeah.
was in place since the beginning of zoning.
Okay.
A lot of those board members are still the same board members. The meetings I was at, it was all to protect Westgate and I-69, was the main themes of all the meetings that I attended as a commissioner-elect in 14. And those are somewhat protected now with the CCR document at Westgate, and then with I-69 being controlled by Washington here. And then, I know it's a big grab, but,
Kind of landlocked up there.
they're kind of landlocked up there a little bit. So there will be pros and cons if we keep it, and there will be pros and cons if we eliminate it.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure we're aware of those pros and cons on each side. So Du Bois County and Gibson County do not have zoning. So just for all the opponents out there, I just want to make sure I'm completely transparent. If you don't zone, economic development won't come. That theme, just not sure I'm buying that theme.
Right.
When we have Du Bois and Gibson County, so
I've never actually heard of a business say, hey, I'd like more red tape, and also, would you make it more expensive for me to build? They just don't say that.
yeah, so again, I want to weigh it out, pros, I'm probably leaning toward getting rid of it, just to be completely transparent, but I'm not passionate one way or the other. I just want to make sure we don't use zoning as a tool to identify assessed value out there. If we need to identify assessed value and new enhancements and all that stuff, we need to figure out that own mechanism and not use this hook to accomplish this goal. And this goal may be extremely important, but let's find its own solution instead of this swath, so.
That's kind of at the beginning, I was probably 95% to get rid of it. Now that, without talking to anybody, now talking to more people, I'm back the other way just a little bit, you know, and just,
I'd say, I mean, if there's, you can't hardly make an error if you're trying to fight for freedom for your constituents, right? And as long as you love your neighbor in the process, if you own it, you own it.
If we loved our neighbors, we could eliminate half our ordinances.
I would agree.
Yeah. I think this is a great process. I really compliment the new commissioners for bringing the topic up, or bringing it up again. We did bring it up last year with the former board. So, but this will be a public discussion. We want to hear feedback. Right now, I think APC and BZA would be extremely good advisory councils to us. It's not their decision. It'll be our decision. But, let's go ahead.
Well, so the APC will get a meeting together for them. I would just invite you all, if you can make that meeting, to come and listen to what they'll say. The process would actually be that the APC does have to make some sort of a recommendation, and then you could be favorable towards that recommendation or not. In Gibson County, when they repealed their zoning ordinance, the APC was against them doing that. So, but that would be at least one of the initial steps before you would take. So.
Okay. So perhaps we give the APC until May 1st to make a decision. Then that will give us May and June to review and research their decision. And that'll give them a couple of months to get their board together. Okay. So yeah, so I would entertain a motion to ask the APC for a zoning elimination evaluation.
Say that fast.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So by May 1st, it'll be a non-binding recommendation from the APC. But I would like for them, if possible, I'd like for them to put it on paper and basically just the pros and cons of keeping it, pros and cons of removing it, or however they want to. But I really don't want a 40-page document. As we're going to get a real condensed highlight, clip notes of here's the main pros and here's the main cons. And their recommendation would be whatever, and then we can evaluate those and just make a knowledgeable decision, and it'll be this board's decision that will stand.
You said you're entertaining a motion for that?
So I'd entertain that motion.
Yeah, so moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Cook. Do we have a second?
second.
Second by Commissioner Keith. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Excellent. Anything from the audience? Ladies, gentlemen, anything? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve payroll claims and to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Keith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Have a great week, everyone. Don't forget it's Valentine's Day, gentlemen. Don, come on, buddy.